breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you. We're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, Chris Cichon. He does such great work over at WBAL in Baltimore. Certainly have to take a look at the Orioles. We have to take a look at what is a very, very murky American League picture and so much more. And then in the final segment, going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Sunday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, do have one or two ways to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters EM. They mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Well, I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today. Boy, oh boy, did we have a fun day of baseball on Saturday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
Yoshinobu Yamamoto took a perfect game into 7 2/3 innings, so into the bottom of the 8th inning. Mookie Betts from there as an error, and you did have Tristan Peters get a home run off of him to break up the no-hitter, but still, dominant performance there. Dodgers get the job done by a kind of 7-1 for Peters, his third home run of the campaign. Yamamoto, that home run was a lone hit that he would give up in 8 1/3 innings. Alex Vesia from there gets a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and Sean Burke did not quite have a perfect game going. 4 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings and was taken deep twice. Max Muncy was able to get his 15th home run of the season. Shohei Ohtani looks like he's not injured. 14th home run of the season. Then Brandon Iser gives up another home run to Muncy. 16th home run of the campaign for Iser. Gives up 2 runs over the course of his inning of work. And then from there you had Tyler Davis be able to give you a shutout inning. And Joe Rockwell, he was able to rock in this game. He gave up only 1 run over the course of 3 innings, so solid there, but too little too late. The Cardinals continue to rock and roll. They're 38-30, 9-6. They're able to take down the Minnesota Twins. For the Twins, Connor Prielipp, he gives up 4 runs over the course of 6 innings, and he was taken deep by Ivan Herrera. 8th home run of the season. Then Herrera off of Justin Lawrence, who's had a miserable season. He gets his 9th home run of the season. As for Lawrence, 2/3 of an inning, gives up 4 runs, all of which were earned, including a pair of bombs. He gives up the other one to Jordan Walker. 18th home run of the season. Then you had Travis Adams come in 2 1/3 innings. He would allow a solo home run in this one, as going deep off of him. Home run number 1 of the season, and I believe the career of Blaze Jordan. So congratulations to him. Maybe not Air Jordan, but he was able to put that ball in the air. And Matthew Liberatore, not the start he was looking for. 4 runs allowed over the course of 4 1/3 innings. Byron Buxton stays hot. 22nd home run of the campaign. And Royce Lewis, since getting recalled from the minor leagues, 6th home run of the season. Lucas Shaw a little bit later on, he would get his 2nd home run of the campaign. From there, the bullpen was quite a bit better. Riley O'Brien does give up a run in an inning. Chris Roycroft, a third of an inning, he gives up a run, but Jojo Romero, pair of outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Matt Savanson, 5 outs out of the bullpen squirrels, and Ryan Stanek was able to lend a scoreless inning. The Slam Diego Padres do slam the Orioles 9-3 the final. We'll talk more about the Orioles with our good friend Chris in the next segment. Trey Gibson has been pitching to a lot of contact, and boy, this was rough. 6 runs allowed, 5 walks, and 2 home runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings. Only gave up 3 hits and allowed 6 runs. You don't find that very often, as he was taken deep twice in this one, as being able to get his first home run of the season. It was one Mr. Samad Taylor, so congratulations to him. And then you also had Jackson Merrill get his 7th home run of the campaign. From there, Keegan Aiken, pair of outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Albert Suarez in long relief gives up 3 solo home runs. Manny Machado, his 12th home run of the campaign. Backup catcher Rodolfo Duran was able to get his 2nd home run of the campaign. And holy sheets, Gavin Sheets, his 11th home run of the season for Randy Vasquez. Solid start here. He gives up 2 runs over the course of 5 innings. Taken deep by Pete Alonso, 16th home run of the season. From there, Bradley Rodriguez gives up a run in his inning, but Yuki Matsui, Jason Adam, they both turn a scoreless inning. And then you had Rodon Manadaccio and Adrian Montejón combined for a scoreless inning as well, being able to give you a lot of scoreless innings. How about what the Cincinnati Reds were able to do? 2-1. They take down the Arizona Diamondbacks. Michael Soroka, good start here. 1 run allowed over the course of 7 innings. Juan Murillo then gives up a home run to Noelvi Marte. The Marte Parte had no home runs entering into the series. His 2nd home run in the last 2 days, and Rut Lauder made some noise. 1 run allowed over the course of 5 2/3 innings. That 1 run, a solo home run to Corbin Carroll, his 12th home run season. From there, Caleb Ferguson, pair of outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Jace Petty, nothing petty about this. 5 outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Tony Santillan, scoreless innings. So the Reds, they're trying to claw their way back to 500, and the Diamondbacks, they're now down to 500. And For the Pirates, they downed the Miami Marlins 3-2 the final as Bubba Chandler, he was able to get a hold of his command. Just one walk allowed and 5 2/3 innings, gives up 2 runs. From there, Mason Montgomery for outside the bullpen squirrels. You don't mess with the Yohan Ramirez and Gregory Soto, not mess with. They both had a scoreless inning, and Ramirez struck out the side. And for Lake Bakar, he was the opener for what was pretty much a poo-poo platter pitcher's game. He gives up a 1 run over the course of 2 innings. John King from there gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning. Calvin Fauché, a scoreless inning. Kay Gibson for outside the bullpen squirrels. Michael Peterson, great name, 2 shutout innings. Anthony Bender, though, takes the loss. He gives up a run in his inning of work. So the Pirates back up above 500, 36-35 for them, and a team that is well above 500, that would be the New York Yankees. 3-1. They take down the Toronto Blue Jays. Cam Schlittler continues to be great. He did walk 4, and he did give up a solo run to Kazuma Okamoto, 15th home run season, but 1 run allowed over the course of 7 innings. Fernando Cruz, David Bennar, they do not poop the Bennar. Both give you a scoreless inning. And Kevin Gausman did his part. 1 run allowed in 7 innings. That 1 run was a solo home run as you had Yesan Dominguez get a 2nd home run in the season, but Paul Goldschmidt breaks the tie in the 9th inning. He goes deep off of Louis Varland, who's had a really nice season. His 9th home run season, Varland gives up 2 runs in an inning, so sub-1 ERA. From there, you had Taylor Rogers be able to give you a scoreless inning out of the bullpen as well, but no offense for the Blue Jays, so the Yankees get the job done there. The Red Sox get the job done, 6-3. They take down the Walker Texas Rangers. Jacob deGrom, pretty solid start, 2 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings, and then bullpen really let them down. Cole Winn, 2 runs allowed in 2/3 of an inning. You had Robbie Ulstrom give you an out of the bullpen squirrels. Peyton Gray, he gives up 2 runs in an inning, taken deep by Jaron Duran, 11th home run season. And for Rangers, Suarez, 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. You did have Taylor Guerrero give up his home run in his 3rd of an inning. Jake Berger, 12th home run season, but Danny Kloon pair of outside the bullpen squirrels. Gary Woodlock, Justin Slayton, Aroldis Chapman, they're all able to turn a scoreless inning. Lots of scoreless innings turned by the Cleveland Guardians. 3-1, they take down the Detroit Tigers. They spoiled the return of Tariq Skubal. Didn't look like himself here. 4 strikeouts, 3 runs, 2 of which were earned in 4 2/3 innings. Taken deep by Daniel Schneemann. 5th home run in the campaign. Bullpen from there did do their part. Kyle Finnegan, 4 outside the bullpen squirrels. Tyler Holton, Kenley Jansen, both turned a scoreless inning. And Joey Cantillo, he gives up 1 run over the course of 5 innings. Colin Olderman, Hunter Gaddis, they both give you a scoreless inning. And then Tim Aaron, Cade Smith, they combine for 2 scoreless innings in the 8th and 9th. And for the Tigers, 1 of 13 with men in scoring position and 11 men left on base. That's not going to win you a lot of games. You know what else is not winning a lot of games? The Mets payroll. 3-1. The Atlanta Braves get the job done here. Martin Perez continues his solid start to the season. 1 run allowed in 5 1/3 innings. From there, Dylan Lee, pair of outside the bullpen squirrels. Didi Fuentes, Robert Suarez, Raciel Iglesias, all turn a scoreless inning. And Sean Maneo was fine in this game. 2 runs allowed in 6 innings. Was taken deep as Eli White gets his 3rd home run in the campaign. Later on, Michael Harris, the 2nd, 14th home run of the season. That comes off of Austin Warren. He went for a pair of innings, gave up that home run, and then you were able to get a scoreless inning out of one Mr. Daniel Duarte, but for the Mets, still nothing doing on offense, so the Braves now 46-24, best record in all of baseball. The Washington Nationals continue their surging season. They take down the Seattle Mariners by a count of 8-3, so the Nationals are back above 500. Kei Cavalli does give up 3 runs over the course of 5 innings, taken deep by Colt Emerson, 2nd home run of the series, 6th home run of the campaign. From there, PJ Poland, along with Orlando Robalta, Richard Dickey, Lovelady, all 3 give you a pair of outside the bullpen squirrels. Brad Lord says, "Oh Lord," to 2 shutout innings, and Luis Castillo continues to struggle on the road. 5 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings. Now, 3 of them were unearned. There were 3 errors out there in the field, one of which was by the reliever and Edward Bizarro a little bit later on, but Luis Garcia did take him deep. 9th home run on the campaign. Gabe Spire not out of the bullpen squirrels, but Jose Ferrer gives up 3 runs in a 3rd of an inning. Bizarro, pair of outside the bullpen squirrels, and Alex Hoppe, very happy about the fact that he gave you a shutout inning, but by then it was too little too late. Nothing little about the score in this one, as the Houston Astros, they get the job done against Kansas City Royals, 8-7 the final. Not great pitching in this one from Mike Burrows, 5 runs, 4 of which weren't given up in 5 innings for the Astros. Taken deep by Lane Thomas. He gets his 3rd Lane home run of the season. Noah Cameron, not much better, 4 runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings. Taken deep twice. You had Christian Walker get his 18th home run of the season, then you had Bryce Matthews get his 6th. From there, you had Jake Myers get his 3rd home run of the season. That comes off of John Schreiber. Gave up that solo home run in 1 2/3 innings of work. Daniel Lynch's shutout inning, but Matt Strahm from there, he gives up a home run to Jose Altuve. 6th home run in the campaign, 2 runs allowed in a 3rd of an inning. Alex Lang, 1 2/3 innings, he gives up a run and takes a loss. And for the Astros, you did have Daniel De Los Santos give up 2 runs in a 3rd of an inning, but the rest of the bullpen solid. Brian King, Brian Abreu, both lend a scoreless inning, and Alimber Santa, one of the best names in all of baseball, he was able to supply nice performance of 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. For the Philadelphia Phillies, they deliver a nice performance, 9-8. They take down the Milwaukee Brewers as Shane Drone. Well, he needed a drone in this one as he gave up 4 runs over the course of 5 innings, and he was taken deep in this game by one Mr. Mando Sosa, 4th home run of the campaign, and then JT Realmuto, his 4th of the season. That comes off of Chad Patrick, who he gave up 4 runs in only 1 inning of work. Drew Rom, 1 run allowed in 1 2/3 innings. Joe Kuno and out of the bullpen squirrels. Trevor McGill, a shutout inning, and Aaron Nola continues to not be super. Gives up a pair of home runs as Garrett Mitchell gets his 4th home run of the season. Jackson Chourio his 7th, and then you would have Chourio go a little bit later on deep off of Jose Alvarado. 8th home run season for Nola, gives up 3 runs in 4 2/3 innings. Alvarado, he gives up 2 runs in his inning of work. Orion Kirkring, though, shutout inning to Mesa and out of the bullpen squirrels. Brad Keller does give up 3 runs in an inning, but Yohan Duran, he shuts the door. Scoreless 9th inning to be able to get the Phillies up to now 38-32 and 19-15 away from home. For the Athletics, they play another under out there in lovely Las Vegas. Since that big outburst on Monday against the Brewers, all their games have gone under in Las Vegas. 7-5, they take down the Colorado Rockies. Kyle Freeland looking more like Kyle Free runs. 6 runs allowed over the course of 5 2/3 innings. Taken deep by Zach Aloff. 9th home run of the campaign. Jay Nill, he gets it out of the bullpen, gives up a run along the way. Seth Alverson, Juan Mejia, they combine for 2 shutout innings, and Joey Estes, he gives up 4 runs in 4 1/3 innings. Brett Sullivan took him deep. 4th home run of the campaign. From there, Jose Suarez, 1 run allowed in 1 2/3 innings. Scott Barlow, Mark Leiter Jr., Elvis Alvarado, they were all in the building for a shutout inning. For the Chicago Cubs, they were in the building to be able to get the job done by kind of 6-1 over the San Francisco Giants. As for the Giants, Trevor Old McDonald, well, he did not deliver what they were hoping for. 4 runs allowed in 3 2/3 innings. He was taken deep in this game, going deep for the Cubbies. It was home run number 12 of the campaign for Pico Armstrong, and then Ian Happ, he was not hapless. He gets his 16th home run of the campaign. That's off of Javier San Martin, and San Martin, he also gives up a home run number 1 of the season to Pedro Ramirez. I believe that's his first career home run as well for San Martin. 2 solo home runs given up in 1 1/3 innings. You did have from there Sam Entages, Ryan Walker, Dylan Smith, and Caleb Killian all give you a shutout inning. And for Ben Brown, he continues to be very rock solid for this Cubs team. He does give up 7 hits, but he only gives up 1 run along the way, limits damage. As for the Giants, they did a pretty nice job leaving men on base, 9 men left on base in this one. And then from there, Caleb Theobar, Phil Matone, they combined for 3 shutout innings. Evan Roberts, he was able to give a shutout inning of his own. So the Cubs, they climbed their way back to 3 games above 500 and climbing their way to victory. How about the LA Angels? They shut out the Rays by a kind of 8-0. It's been a rough one for the Rays over the last few weeks. As for Griffin Jax, he does get Jax up in this game. He takes a loss despite the fact that he gave up no earned runs. 1 unearned run given up in 5 innings of work. From there, the bullpen just completely relinquished this game. Garrett Clevenger, 2 runs allowed in a third of an inning. Craig Kimbrell, yes, that Craig Kimbrell, gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning. Cole Sulzer, he gives up 4 runs, only gets 2 outs out of the bullpen. Jose Siri, how many home runs does he have? That'd be 3. Cam Boozer, 4 outs out of the bullpen, scoreless, and Jose Soriano, he was on it in this game. 5 shutout innings, and then from there, Samuel Natera Jr., 2 shutout innings. Brent Suter, Kirby Yates, they were both able to turn a scoreless inning. And if you're looking at trend-wise, what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, it has been an overwhelming season thus far, as the over hitting at 51.4% for the campaign, 526 overs, 497 unders, and we have had 29 pushes along the way. Meanwhile, favorites are hitting at about 55.4% on the money line, 566 and 455, and among those 566 favorites, 133 have failed to cover the run line. Meanwhile, over the last 7 days in baseball, favorites hitting at 58.1%, 50 and 36 on the money line. Just 9 of those favorites failed to cover the run line, so doing solid there. And the over, well, it has been very overwhelming recently. We've had 4 pushes, 47 overs, 39 unders. That is a 54.7% hit rate to the over. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's where we're all getting trend-wise. Coming up next, how about if we do chat it up with our good friend Chris Cichon of WBAL in Baltimore, right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Beats and Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Chris Cichon aboard. He does such great work over at WBAL in Baltimore, taking a look at all the teams out there, whether that be the Ravens on the college side of things, Maryland, and even Loyola Maryland, some littler teams out there as well. And this time of year, they do a great job with their coverage of the Baltimore Orioles. And if you need the news happenings out there in Baltimore, Chris is your man as well. You're able to follow him on Twitter/X at The Big Cheese Show. That is CHEE on Chi before show. And Chris, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Greg, thank you so much for having me. And yes, a couple of hours ago, speaking of Loyola, Maryland, we were watching some of my wife's old dance team from 2009 when she would dance to the Loyola Greyhounds basketball team Jimmy Patsos led. So we were strolling down memory lane a little bit there. And to do that as well, too, 37 years ago, Saturday, Gary Williams was hired by Maryland, and it was bliss in College Park for quite a bit. Hasn't been the case thus far, in this new era, but you're going to be jumping into that quite a bit, I'm sure, over the next couple of months. But everything's good over here, man. Always a pleasure to be joining you.
Yep, it is always great to be looking at college basketball. And hey, the conference previews on Coast to Coast Hoops, they're already back. So nice. We are never sleeping there. And I know that you never sleep on putting out great content out there in the city of Baltimore. And just what do we make right now out of the Orioles? A team that they fell on Saturday to the San Diego Padres by a count of 9-3. Feels like the starting pitching staff just has really been held together by chicken wire and duct tape, but it does feel like they've been able to have some brighter moments as well. And out there in an American League where it feels like nobody is good in this league anymore, I think for the Baltimore Orioles, it's all about figuring out the starting pitching for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And they are getting some improved pitching on the starting pitching front, so that's been huge for them. Trevor Rogers going to be going Sunday, is somebody who they have needed to step up. And he was better in his no decision against the Mariners, albeit a loss in his last start. The one prior to that, getting a W in Boston. But prior to that, I mean, it just was rough sledding for him. Really bad against the Rays in the middle of May, I know. And then against the Yankees at home, against the Red Sox at home, he was getting blown up after a really strong start to the year. So what are we getting out of Trevor Rogers at this point? He had 10 hard hit balls against him, only 7 whiffs in one of his most recent starts against the Mariners there, his most recent one in the extra inning loss. So, yeah, that's not exactly going to get it done. Now, it helps that he's going to be facing a Padres team, and one of the debates we had in the WBAL newsroom was whether or not Manny Machado is injured or whether or not he's played 15 years in the league. And maybe Father Time is starting to catch up with him, hitting sub 200. So he does get a Padres lineup, albeit they're coming off a performance on Saturday where they drove in a bunch of runs and they were getting some production. But they could be had this year, certainly. And I think Rogers is a guy that can potentially shut them down or at least limit the damage that they can do. I mean, I don't know. Xander Bogaerts isn't somebody that's instilling a ton of fear into me at this point of his career. They certainly have, a solid bullpen. That's obviously the best part of their team. Really good back end there. But the Orioles bullpen had themselves a strong showing in the series opener. The game that the Orioles won, they went 4 innings and were able to only really limit the Padres to a couple of hits, maybe even one, and the Orioles were able to pull out a victory there. So that was a good one for them. Yeah, Shane Baz pitching better for this team. I mean, that has been absolutely huge for them. They've needed Baz to step up. In his last start, he was able to really limit the weak contact, so that was huge. I mean, only getting 1 strikeout. So if you're in the market where you're betting strikeout totals, I'm not one to do that personally. You probably took the loss on that. But yeah, he in his last, 5 outings, been tagged for 2 earned runs or fewer, 2.05 ERA in his last 30.2 innings. I mean, that's what you want to see out of Shane Baz. That's what Mike Elias talked about when they signed him, and Elias talked about how he's been scouting Shane Baz since Baz was in high school in Texas. So that's coming together for you as well. And really the hitting has been getting it done. You just saw Gunnar Henderson hitting his 100th career home run. Quick side note, his first career home run was the day that my daughter, Gianna, who's going to be turning 4 years old, was born. And they just posted that. Jake Rill from Covers Baltimore's Orioles here in town posted that. So I had to repost that today. That was a wonderful moment for me and certainly for Gunnar Henderson as well, too. And the power's been there for Gunnar. You're seeing Jackson Holliday stepping back into the lineup. That's been huge for them. Samuel Basallo, double-digit home runs. Pete Alonso's coming around now, getting hot, so that's been huge. Adley Rutschman dealing with an injury. I know he was back in the lineup, but he was out of it again on Saturday, so that's something to be maybe a little bit concerned about because Rutschman's just been such a turnaround from last year. He has been a really big piece to this team and what they've been doing. But, yeah, 5 different times the Orioles get 3-game win streaks, but not able to get over the hump and get that 4th win in a row Saturday, which would have really looking at a series sweep coming into Sunday, that would have been crucial for this Orioles team. But they are in the mix, dealing with injuries. Obviously, we know Bassett just went down, and now we're seeing, the Orioles hoping to maybe get some pieces back in the bullpen towards the latter half of August. Felix Bautista is supposed to be coming back at some point, so you would hope that he's going to be helping this bullpen. And Ryan Helsley apparently is close, if not back. So like all these teams, I was listening to the Yankees taking on the Blue Jays on Saturday, and they were going through their rotation and how many injuries that they've dealt with. So it's not just Baltimore, but the Orioles have been able to kind of maintain position within the AL wildcard race. And Taylor Ward, the power's not there, but he's been delivering with the average. So, yeah, they're doing just enough to hang in there, but they are wildly inconsistent. You think that they're turning the corner, and then they give up almost double-digit runs on Saturday, and it kind of all implodes for them. In a game where, Trey Gibson is one of their young prospects and somebody who has a big-time repertoire and pitch mix, but, yeah, he was overmatched on Saturday in the loss.
Yep, he certainly has been, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Orioles moving forward, because you mentioned the injuries for them, and it just really feels like it's the entire American League landscape. The teams that have been at the top of the American League with the Rays and the Yankees, and they are specifically out there in the East, as we know, Aaron Judge dealing with an injury right now for the New York Yankees. The Rays are dealing with a bunch of injuries with regards to their pitching staff as well. The Tigers, they just got back Tariq Skubal. List goes on, and just how do you take a look at an American League where, if I'm just looking back since I was born in 1993, I can't remember an entire league as mediocre as the American League is right now.
If we're looking at the American League, I still like the Rays as far as what they're able to do, but if and when Aaron Judge does come back, I know he's getting reevaluated at that 4 to 6 week point with the rib injury. I haven't looked into the whole science of the cartilage and why it's really bothering him and whatnot. But yeah, is that going to be something that's going to be lingering? This is a Yankees team, though, that I still think if they're able to get their big-time horses for the postseason, Max Fried, Garrett Cole, Cam Schlitter, who pitches well, Carlos Rodon, if they're all able to be humming at the same time, it's a team that certainly is going to be a favorite to emerge from the American League and represent in the World Series. But yeah, Tampa Bay Rays, from an offensive perspective, guys like Junior Caminero, they have solid home run to fly ball percentages. I know they're able to get some power, deliver that. Jonathan Aranda, too. I know he was going through maybe a little bit of a patch where he was hitting the ball to a lot of defenders when the Rays were skidding just a little bit there for a moment, losing to the Orioles and getting swept by them. That was pretty surprising. You look at the rest of this Rays lineup, Yandy Diaz having a career year, so he's certainly been solid. And even with Brandon Lau leaving and going to Pittsburgh and absolutely crushing the ball, getting it done, they're still able to pick up offensive production from other places as well, too. So this is a team, the Rays, that I wasn't ever really sure once the Wander Franco situation unfolded and they were locked into the contract, or were they ever really going to recoup for that? They invested their future into this guy. But when you have a pipeline like the Rays do, and you're able to bring these guys up and fill and have pitching options as well that are solid, guys like Drew Rasmussen the other day were striking out double-digit numbers. So he was absolutely getting it done, dealing. And he's been doing that for years for this Rays team. Shane McClanahan, too, is a solid pitcher for them. And we know how their bullpen, has some cracks in it from time to time, the Rays bullpen. But Brian Baker's one of the best closers in baseball so far. So, yeah, for me, it's the Yankees and the Rays at the moment. And the Blue Jays, listen, it's the middle of June. They've kind of just held their head above water, barely. But in a rotation that's got you Savage and Kevin Gossman, and a hitting that's got Vlad Guerrero Jr. still in the heart of that order, and veteran bats that came to life like a George Springer last year. I'm not going to count the Blue Jays out. I think that they can still be a player in this American League East. And if I'm making these good points about the Orioles, I just listed 3 AL East teams that they're going to have to get through. And Boston is a team that's pretty beatable. The Orioles just showed that recently, getting right against this Red Sox team, certainly limiting their bats. And that was a situation where the Orioles and Brandon Young, this has been a guy. I haven't even mentioned Brandon Young. I was not really the biggest Brandon. Sometimes you take the L on guys and you're wrong about them. Brandon Young, I didn't think had the stuff, but they've developed into a nice pitcher, a guy who isn't going to overpower you, but he's going to limit the damage, and that's certainly what he's done. He's every fifth day, basically, Brandon Young goes out and delivers. So, yeah, you look at the American League East, that seems to be the strongest division. Been watching quite a bit of AL West action lately just because staying up late, watching some Stanley Cup finals. I know it's going to be a big night in Vegas for you guys tonight with Game 6 going on, but watching teams like the Angels and Reed Detmers pitching a gem the other night, and the Astros are certainly not the same team that they were, but then the Athletics can burst for 15 runs in that 15-14 game or something like that in Vegas the other day. That was bonkers. But the A's don't have good enough pitching, and they don't have Severino anymore, who's not, an ace to be, or I guess you can consider him an ace. He's not a Cy Young guy, but yeah, it's just all of these teams have deficiencies. I know Seattle, who was just here, took 2 of 3 from the Orioles, looked pretty good, and that's a team that in the heart of their lineup still has some guys who can really instill fear, even if they're not, always hitting the best of average. Julio Rodriguez, Randy Arozarena, starting with those guys, you would hope you're the Mariners and you're getting into August or September, you're going to get Cal Raleigh, some sort of production out of them. But, the Mariners, their top strength is their rotation. Guys like George Kirby leading the way there and being able to, Logan Gilbert, those are shutdown pitchers. I like the Mariners and what they're going to be bringing to the table. And then that leaves us with the AL Central to still talk about. And I don't know that there's any team really in the American League Central that's going to be standing out to me. And I know we just saw Tariq Skubal take the mound. Where is he going to end up once deadline time comes around? This seems to be a Tigers team that's going nowhere this year. Really, who emerges out of the American League Central? That is going to be an interesting one. I probably still think it's going to be the Cleveland Guardians. They're Stephen Vogt, good manager there, good young pitchers, albeit not, studs, but, guys like Ciccone and Gavin Williams. They're solid enough. But then they just lost Jose Ramirez to that hamate injury. So there's an argument against them. So I think the American League East has the teams that are to be reckoned with when it comes to competing for a spot in the World Series. Because, I just think all the AL West and the AL Central teams just have too many question marks.
Yeah, there is a lot of question marks out there with the AL Central teams. That's joining me on the show. We've got Chris Cichon of WBAL in Baltimore joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And among the teams that you listed off there, I've been going to these 2 teams, the ones that I think have the most upside in the American League that are perhaps 500 or below. I really gravitate towards the Rangers because they've got that great pitching. Obviously, the offense has not been great. And then the Blue Jays, who you've listed off, because it just felt like they had the rash of injuries, Trey Savage and company towards the beginning part of the season. They're starting to pick it up as well. How do you just take a look at a lot of these 500 teams? Because I think with the Orioles, there's a little bit of upside as well. But the big fear with the Orioles is that they just haven't been the same team away from them rather than at home. And this, after they play their game on Sunday, they're going to be going on a long West Coast road trip, which I think is going to be pivotal for them and sort of their hopes for the postseason this season.
Yeah, you look at this Rangers team, they swept the Royals. They take 2 of 3 from the Cardinals. They take 2 of 3 from the Guardians. And you're thinking to yourself, 2 of 3 from the Royals. So you're thinking to yourself, all right, this is a team that is coming about. Maybe they can be the representative in the AL West when it's all said and done. And then they lose 2 games in Fenway to the Red Sox, 10-1 and then 6-3. So not great for this Texas Rangers team to be dropping those. But when you're taking on teams in your division and it's not exactly the strongest of divisions, the AL West that is, Mariners Saturday were only 2 games above 500. So the Rangers only 2 games back there and the Athletics only a game and a half back. So yeah, the Rangers are in striking distance. It's a team where they paid for Jacob deGrom and they have dealt with injuries with him, but certainly somebody that when he takes the mound, he's gotten it done for them this year. Nathan Eovaldi, I remember covering him for USA Today when they were in the World Series against the Diamondbacks, and he was absolutely a stud that I trusted betting with, and he led them, big part of why they were in the World Series, and he leads them in the innings pitched this year. It doesn't have the lowest of ERA, but somebody who, again, at this stage of his career, if you're talking about Nathan Eovaldi, 36 years old, if he's able to go out there every 5th day and perform for you and get you closer to contention and not to a point where you're going to need to be selling, that's what you really can ask from them. And yeah, they have good guys too, like Kumar Rocker. I remember hearing about this guy, the back and forth with when the Mets drafted him and him. I'm not exactly sure what the deal was with that. And, he was somebody in his last start. Wasn't outstanding against Kansas City, but if you go through his last 3 starts, no earned runs against Kansas City in the 5:30 matchup, and then when he took on the Guardians and the Kansas City Royals once again 2 days ago, or 3 days ago, I should say, 2 earned runs in those. So Kumar Rocker living up to the billing there, the 26-year-old. And then, yeah, it's a Texas Rangers rotation ultimately that you can trust, I would think, more oftentimes than not. Mackenzie Gore as well, too. And then the hitting, Brandon Nimmo, I just saw the one highlight, of him drilling the opposing pitcher, his former Mets guy, Seth Lugo, on that comeback and going back and checking on him. I mean, Brandon Nimmo is a guy, you want to have in your locker room, leads the team in at-bats. He's somebody who has, not the best of batting average in the world. The Rangers are an interesting one because they're bringing out like Jock Peterson, and he's kind of having a little bit of a renaissance. So that's been fun to see. He's been a guy I've watched for years, as have you, being baseball junkies that we are with the Dodgers to the Braves. Hitting kind of was in that number 1 spot in the lineup, and then he's been kind of bouncing back to 6. And then, you have like the power bats of your Josh Jung and your Jake Berger, and Ezekiel Duran can kind of play utility, and he's versatile on the field. So I like what the Texas Rangers are bringing. It's just when you lose to Boston twice, and Boston has their strengths too. I don't want to totally dismiss them. It's just not a Red Sox team that I think we could all agree on is going to be competing in the American League East for a division title this year. I know they've got some nice guys like Cedon Rafaela had a good day Saturday, and we've talked about Wilyer Abreu, how ice cold he was. He seems to be getting a little bit better as of late here, and they've got some nice pitching guys as well too, guys like Connolly Early and whatnot. But this is a Texas Rangers team that I would imagine would not be getting swept going into Fenway. So we'll see kind of how that plays out when the two teams wrap up on Sunday in Fenway Park for the series finale there. As far as who the pitcher is going to be going for them. Yeah, it's going to be Eovaldi versus Early. I just mentioned those 2 guys. So 2 studs as far as I'm concerned that I'm really excited to see this one, as this appears to be the Peacock game as I'm looking at it. So It's going to be a nice one to be as the secondary one with the Stanley Cup Finals side by side watching those. So tonight should be a good one, Greg. And then I think we got a UFC fight on the White House lawn. Not that I'm a big UFC guy, but that should be a spectacle.
Yeah, no question about it. I am very curious to see how they pull that off. Like, I'm lukewarm on the UFC, but that is going to be absolutely amazing. The fact that they are even attempting it, I think is going to be magnificent, to say the least. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch that, and I know that, Chris, you're locked in on a little bit of everything, whether that be baseball, whether that be happenings out there in Baltimore. Hey, the Ravens offseason, as we know, football always drives the bus when it comes to sports. You're doing a great job covering all that and so much more. So let the good people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Thank you, Greg, so much for having me. Once again, it is always such a blast to join you. We have Ravens coverage, mini camp. Yeah, they've been asking us, the callers, even though it's election season, the ratings are driven by the Orioles and Ravens. And that warms my heart to know that, the people, sports is the priority and brings out everybody's happiness here. Sports is the best. I know when you're a kid, it delights you maybe even more. But to this day, I still love covering it, and I'm going to be covering the Orioles and Ravens along with some of the news in and around the Baltimore area, especially as we lead up to America 250. We've got some boats that are going to be coming through that are coming up from like Missouri or the Mississippi River or something all the way up. So I need to figure out the total logistics of that. But yeah, it's going to be a busy summer ahead for the entire country and for the Orioles and Ravens as well. And it's always busy for you, Greg, busiest man in our business. You're always crushing it. And I always love listening to your program. So thanks for having me on, man.
It is always great to be able to get Chris aboard. Does such a great job looking at this wonderful sport of baseball, all the happenings out there in Baltimore, and so much more. And every single time he joins me, lots such great insight. So a big thanks to Chris for joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming up next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Sunday as we catch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by Chris Cichon. He does such great work over at WBAL in Baltimore. looking at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Every single time he joins me, lends such great insights. He did so once again today. So big thanks to Chris for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Sunday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at gunit_D1. We're going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games, any interleague games. Those will be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice and clean and easy. Let's get things started. This is 9:01, 9:02 on the card. It's the Miami Marlins. They're on the road. They're walking the plank to Pittsburgh to face off against the Pirates as Paul Skeens goes for the Buccos. Max Meyer is on the bump for Miami. And with Miami, you're going to be getting them between plus 135 to a plus 144. Meanwhile, minus 145 to minus 163. That number at Pittsburgh. If you're looking to lay the run line, getting about plus 129 to a plus 135 on the Pirates. And total is 7.5. Unders minus 120. Over is even money. And I'm going to be in on the under. I did set my total at 7.3. For Paul Skeens, he's looking a little bit more like the Paul Skeens that we all know and love over his last few starts. Had a few struggles out there in late May, but still overall, 284 ERA, 254 fielding dependent, 10.5 strikeouts, 1.8 walks per 9 innings. He has now given up 2 earned runs of fear in each of his last 3 starts, 7+ strikeouts in 4 of his last 5 starts. This is a guy that we all know and love, and for Max Meyer, he's put together a nice season thus far for the Miami Marlins. 6-0 record, which I don't make too much of record, but 285 ERA, 337 fielding dependent, 9.8 strikeouts per 9 innings, 0.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Team ERA away from home going into yesterday, though, is a 5.14, and he's been one of those guys on this roster that has had some pretty big home and road splits. For Max Meyer, at home, 1.97 ERA. He's giving up 0.6 home runs per 9 innings. A little bit over 1 home run per 9 innings away from home, which isn't bad. 4.05 ERA, that's over double what he's doing at home. And for the Pittsburgh Pirates, they're averaging about 5.7 runs per game at home. That is number 1 in all baseball. Now, dealing with an injury to Oneil Cruz, that's a little bit of an issue, but Brandon Lau is still getting loud with 15+ home runs and has been hitting for right around about a 250, 255 or so. And then have other guys that are stepping up. Nick Gonzalez is hitting just below 300. Spencer Horowitz, Brian Reynolds over at 385 on base. Tyler Callahan, it's a small sample size, but pair of homers hitting above a 300. Jake Magnum, 350 on base. Flip side for the Miami Marlins, it's a bottom 6 unit in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. And you've got guys getting on. Xavier Edwards out of Lopez, both hitting above 300 for Lopez. More like a 345, but have quite a few guys towards the bottom lineup. They're just not cutting it right now. The likes of Jacob Marcy, Connor Norby, Leo Jimenez. He's not at the bottom lineup, but Kyle Stowers. These guys hitting at 220 or lower without a lot of power. Now, you have been able to get a lot of boom out of Liam Hicks, 12+ home runs. He's been able to do his part. One guy in the roster give you a double-figure amount of homers. And for the Miami Marlins overall, this is a top 10 team in terms of opening rate, but you still have had a few guys that have really struggled. Andrew Nardi has been posting up an ERA, hovering right around about a 5. Pete Fairbanks has not been the closer that we all know and love. Michael Peterson, great name. Anthony Bender, these are guys giving you a sub 325 ERA. Lake Bakar is now to be thrusted into a bigger role, and he's been relatively solid, but other end for the Pirates, do think that their bullpen is going to round into form a little bit more, as you've had Dennis Santana supplying an ERA above 350. He's typically better than this. Yohan Ramirez should be able to get a little bit of relief with Carmen Molchinski going from the starting rotation into the bullpen. Both of these guys a little bit north of 4 ERA. Do think that they round into form. Evan Sisk, sub 2 ERA, and Gregory Soto has been pretty solid at the closer's role. So I do like this total to the under semi total of 7.3. I'm going to play it safe on the money line since I do think that it's going to be a lower scoring game, but set the Pirates at a minus 204, so do like that money line. 903, 904 on the card. The Atlanta Braves are on the road against the New York Mets as Freddie Peralta is on the bump for the Metropolitans, and Bryce Elder hopes to not look elderly for the Braves. The Braves are a very slim underdog here, and between minus 102 to a plus 104. Meanwhile, you're going to be getting the Mets and between about a minus 110 to a minus 118 with a total of 8.5. Over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. And I did set the Braves as a favorite here at a minus 106. So being able to get even money or better, especially, I'm going to be in on that money line. I recognize that when it comes to Bryce Elder, he's been giving up some harder contact, and he's been lucky to be giving up less than 1.1 home runs per 9 innings. I do think that there's going to be a little bit of regression with him. Overall, a 266 ERA, closer to about a 346, fielding independently about 7.5 strikeouts, 2.7 walks per 9 innings. But I just don't know if it comes against the New York Mets, a team that's in the bottom 8 in terms of run creation. Recognize that you did have Bo Bichette in the first game of the series be able to have a multi-home run game, but you still have him hitting for well less than a 240. His on-base percentage, along with that, Marcus Simeon is below a 285. You're just not getting much out of the bottom lineup either. These guys like Eric Wagaman, Vidal Brujan, MJ Melendez, they're all hitting at 215 or lower. Mark Vientos down to a 245 on base. Monzoto's doing his part, double-figure amount of homers, 350 on base, and Carson Benjay's been better. Had that 5-hit game against the Padres last week, but it's still a miserable lineup, and for the Atlanta Braves, they're having about 5.8 runs per game away from them. That is second in all of baseball. You've got Matt Olson, who's been able to supply 19 home runs. He's hitting about a 270. Michael Harris has been hitting a 300 with 14 home runs. Ozzy, Albies, hitting for about a 285, double-figure amount of homers there. Ray Sudabon and guys like this are moving line. Tom Smith doing a good job finding way on base, hitting about a 290, and for the Atlanta Braves, this team is number one in all baseball in terms of bullpen ERA. DDA Fuentes, Dylan Lee, Dylan Dodd, Robert Suarez, Raciel Iglesias, these are all guys posting up an ERA below 235. They are dealing with Tyler Kinley being on the injury list, but this whole bullpen has been formidable, and we'll say for the Mets, the bullpen has been solid. They had to use up Austin Warren yesterday. He's not going to be available in this game, but and you've got the likes of a Luke Weaver, Brooks Raley, Oscar Brisbane, who've all been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Devin Williams continues to be a little bit of a nightmare, but even he's been a little bit better recently, so I do think that that's going to help keep things be a little bit lower scoring. And for Freddie Peralta, swing and miss stuff is down. Anything below 10 strikeouts per 9 innings is pretty much a career low for Freddie Peralta, but he's still been presentable. Unlike a lot of the Mets, he's actually been okay. 4.04 ERA, you still expect more out of him. 1.2 home runs, 3.7 walks per 9 innings with about 9.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, but I just think that the Braves are the better team and get the job done in a lower scoring game. Did so by total at an 8.1, so I'm going to be looking at the under, and for the Braves, willing to lay up to a minus 105 on the money line. 9-5, 9-6 on the card. The Diamondbacks are going to be on the road against the Cincinnati Reds, and yes, we're on to Cincinnati. He's on to Andrew Abbott, getting the start for them, and it is one Mr. Zach Gallen looking to fill it up for Arizona. And Arizona, in a relative pick'em game here, you're going to be finding them between a minus 106 to a minus 112. Meanwhile, for the Reds, as bad as a minus 108, as good as a minus 102 is what I'm seeing on them. And then this total is anywhere between 9.5 to 10. On the 9.5, over and under, both at minus 110. On the 10, under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. And I did set a total here over 9.7. Personally, I would rather have a 9.5 over rather than a 10 under, because for Zach Gallen, he has always been a maestro in terms of home and road splits, and my gosh, he has been absolutely terrible when he's been on the road thus far this season. For our good friend and Mr. Zach Gallen, he just really hasn't been good anywhere thus far this season. 5.43 ERA, 1.4 home runs, 5.9 strikeouts per 9 innings, but on the road, 1.9 home runs allowed per 9 innings with a nice hearty 7.44 ERA. That is just not cutting it, and for Andrew Abbott, he's probably lucky to have the 4.10 ERA, about a 4.72 fielding dependent, as he's only getting about 6.4 strikeouts per 9 innings, and he's above 3.5 walks per 9 innings. But that said, he's been much better recently. 13 total earned runs given up in his last 8 starts, 3 earned runs or fewer in every one of those starts. Now, he does go up against an Arizona Diamondbacks team that is in the top 12 in terms of run creation away from him. You've got Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte, along with Corbin Carroll, been able to give you double-figure amount of homers. For Marte, he's only been able to about a 250 this season. He's down a little bit with that regard. Carroll continuing to give you about a 375 on base. And Gabriel Moreno, he's up to about a 350 on base. You do have a few guys that have really been struggling, though, towards the bottom of the lineup. Whenever Geraldo Perdomo's been out there because he's been banged up, it's been a little bit rough for him. Tommy Troy is hitting just like a 225. You've had Adrian Del Castro not necessarily be able to move the line. Ryan Waldschmidt is starting to regress a little bit. For the Diamondbacks, right around about league average in terms of bullpen ERA. You've had a lot of these guys run to form. Kevin Ginkel, Jonathan Loaiza, Juan Murillo. You've got a lot of guys who are still playing a sub-350 ERA. Just still really don't trust him. Paul Sewald at the closer's role. For the Reds, this team is now a bottom 5 team in terms of ERA in the bullpen, but you do have Brock and Roll Burke along with Sam Wall, who are veterans that know how to be able to get the job done. Both of these guys, a sub-325 ERA. They've sent Chris Paddock down to the bullpen, which I don't know how that's going to go. Zachary Maxwell, Zach McKembley, these guys have been rough. TJ Antone, Tony Santini, these are not necessarily guys that are cutting it, but I do think that for Andrew Abbott, he's going to be able to go out there, give you a relatively solid start. And for the Reds, they've been right around about a league average team in terms of run creation, even without Ellie De La Cruz. Cousin Sal Stewart has been your main man, give you about a 350 on base. He's up to 13 home runs, but you got JJ Bleday, Spencer Steer, both with between 10 and 11 home runs apiece. Steers give you a 333 on base. Bleday, about a 360 on base. Need more out of Van Eugenio Suarez. 5 home runs at 150 or so at bats, 282 on base. That's just not cutting it. And then likes of TJ Friedel, when he's been out there, Cabrian Hayes, who's currently dealing with an injury, Will Benson, Navoli Marte. A lot of guys give you a sub 300 on base, but do think that the Reds get to a guy in Gallen who has really struggled away from home. So like the over, so my total 9.7, so 9.5 or less in on the over, and made the Reds a minus 132 favorite. Like them on the money line. 907, 908 on the card. It's the Phillies. They're going to be on the road against the Milwaukee Brewers. Kyle Harrison is on the bump bum for the Brewers, and Chris Sanchez is on the bum for the Phillies, and Phillies are between minus 110, minus 119 favorites. Meanwhile, for the Brewers, you're going to be finding them as bad as a minus 105, as good as a plus 105. Total on this game is 7. The under is between minus 110 to a minus 115. Over is minus 105 to a minus 110, and I like the under. I set my total here at a 6.7 for Kyle Harrison. He did get lit ablaze in his last start against the Athletics out here in lovely Las Vegas. It's a Las Vegas ballpark that is really surrounding a lot of runs, but I know overall he's putting together a nice season. 272 ERA, 311 fielding dependent. He is giving up 2.7 walks while getting 11.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, and Sanchez doesn't have quite that many strikeouts, but I mean the historic run that this man is on right now. He has given up 3 earned runs over the course of his last 7 starts, 154 ERA, 186 fielding dependent. He is giving up only 0.4 home runs, 1.7 walks per 9 innings, and he's getting 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. It's he and Jacob Mizorowski right now, neck and neck with regards to the Cy Young hunt. And for the Phillies, they're just not generating a lot of offense right now, about 3.7 runs per game away from them. That's a bottom 3 mark in all of baseball. You look at some of these guys, Bryson Stott, Alec Boehm, Trey Turner down for what, JT Realmuto, they're all infielders hitting at 225 or lower with not a lot of pop. Derek Hill out there in the outfield, along with Adolis Garcia hitting at 225 or lower with not a lot of power. Brandon Martian's been solid. He's been hitting at 300, but other than Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber. For Harper, entering into yesterday, 15 bombs, about a 370 on base. Schwarber's on pace for 50-plus home runs. He's been able to give you about a 355 on base. Other than those 2 guys, you're just getting nothing. And for the Brewers, even though they're a bottom 5 team in terms of home runs on a per-at-bat basis, just so many guys that find a way to move the line, get on base. William Contreras, Christian Yelich, Garrett Mitchell, Jackson Chourio, all between about a 345 to a 360 on base. Then you've got Bryce Terang giving you a 385 on base. Like Jake Bowers is right now leading the way in terms of homers. He's right around about 12, but 375 on base out of him as well. I think that Sal Frelick is going to pick it up a little bit. For the Brewers, it has been a very solid bullpen. Recognize that Abner Uribe, Trevor McGill had rough starts to the season, but the likes of Grant Anderson, Aaron Ashby, Chad Patrick have been able to give you sub 325 ERA. And for the Phillies, they have a lesser bullpen, but with the way that Sanchez is rolling, you're not going to need much of that bullpen. You want to run along with Ryan Kirkering or give you a sub 3 ERA. If you need to go to someone like a Tanner Banks, he's been a little bit better recently. Jose Alvarado, since the drug suspension, just has not been himself. But Brad Keller rounding into form as well. I think that 2 great starting pitchers give you a nice start. You just can't fade Christopher Sanchez, in my opinion, at this point. Set the Phillies on minus 122, like the Phillies on the money line, like the under as well. Semi total 6.7, 909, 910 on the card. It's the Cubs that are going to be on the road against the Giants, as Logan Webb is on the bump for the Giants, and Colin Ray says hip hip hooray to another start for the Cubs. Plus 119 to plus 127 is that number there. Anywhere between minus 138 to a minus 144 is that number on San Francisco, and total on this game, you're finding it at an 8 over and under, anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. One to go up to a minus 157 with the Giants. I'm in on their money line for Colin Ray after he had a nice start to the season. Things have really started to toilet bowl on him, up to about a 5.19 ERA. Fielding independent shows that he should be in for a little bit of positivity. 487 fielding independent. Only about those 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, 3.2 walks, 1.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Good news is he's going up against the Giants team that overall for the season has been in the bottom 6 in terms of run creation when they've been at home, but it looks since the beginning of the month of June, they've been a top 5 offense as well. So it's sort of pick your poison there. And for Colin Ray, 303 ERA at home. At home, he's given up about 1.1 home runs per 9 innings. Away from home, he's given up well above 1.5 home runs per 9 innings and a 7.12 ERA. And for Logan Webb, since he's come off the injury list, he has looked like a new man. In his last 3 starts since coming off the injury list, a combined 2 earned runs allowed in 19 and a third innings. He does overall have a 3.88 ERA for the season, but 3.18 fielding dependent. Swing and miss stuff has been down, 7.8 strikeouts per 9 innings, but half a home run, 2.5 walks per 9 innings, and this is not just one season, this is a career numbers for Logan Webb. Just a maestro being able to pitch in San Francisco. 296 home ERA, 389 career ERA away from home, and again with the Giants, if you look at the season numbers, the offense has not been good. Much better here recently. I don't know how much of a mainstay it's going to be. You still do have Rafael Devers along with Willie Adames giving an on-base percentage at his sub 300, but Adames is up to 11 home runs this season. Devers, he's been picking up a little bit to 9 home runs. Casey Schmidt has really been that main man, though, hitting a 272 with 15 home runs. You've got Jung-Ho Lee along with Luis Arias, both hitting above 300. Bryce Aldridge is now hitting above 300 as well. Matt Chapman, very silently, has been putting together a nice last few weeks. And for the Chicago Cubs, it just feels like everyone's between about like a 315 to a 340 on base. Ian Happ a little bit above that, and he does have 15 home runs. But, I mean, Pete Armstrong, Seiya Suzuki, Michael Busch, Nico Horner, all these guys are sort of in that neighborhood. Aside from Dansby Swanson, who's hitting a $180, he's just been miserable for the team, and they have no idea how to situationally hit to save their lives now. One thing that is helping out the Cubs is the fact that they have been a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA. You've had likes of a Jacob Webb, Daniel Palencia be able to give you a sub-3 ERA in that bullpen. Caleb Thielbar, we're around about a 386. We're starting to see a little bit of regression with regards to Hobie Milner as well. He's up in that neighborhood about a 386 as well. And then on the flip side, for the San Francisco Giants, a former Cub and Caleb Killian, he's been struggling a little bit with north of a 3 ERA, but JT Brubaker has been a nice long guy. They're dealing with an injury to Matt Gage. That does hurt them a little bit, but with the way that Logan Webb delivers length, I don't think that they're going to need to go into this bullpen too much, and I think that Logan Webb goes out there and dominates at home. So I told 7.7. I do like the under and the Giants on the money line up to a minus 156. 9-11, 9-12 on the card. It is the Yankees. They are going to be on the road. They're facing off against the Blue Jays as Patrick Corbin goes for the Jays, and Will Warren is on the bump for New York. New York between minus 119 to minus 126 favorites. Meanwhile, for the Blue Jays, you're going to be finding them anywhere between plus 102 to a plus 108 total on this game. I'm finding an 8.5 under minus 115, over at minus 105, and I do like the under. Somebody told at 8.3. Now, Patrick Corbin is starting to look like the Patrick Corbin that we all know love. Going into this season, it had a 5.20 plus ERA in 4 of the last 5 seasons and was really fooling us for the beginning part of the season. He's now given up 9 earned runs across 8 innings in his last 2 starts, and it really feels like the air is being let out of the balloon. 6.3 strikeouts at 3.1 walks per 9 innings. Really not giving up the deep ball. 1.1 home runs per 9 innings allowed, and I recognize that it's a Yankees lineup that is currently without Aaron Judge, but I mean, even without Judge, they've been averaging 4.5 runs per game. That's not like a top 5 offense in all baseball, but that's good enough to get the job done. I think that they're set up better this year than they have been in the past to overcome having Aaron Judge out of the lineup for a little bit. Cody Bellinger, Paul Goldschmidt, both above a 355 on base. Ben Rice, still about a 385 on base, 18 home runs. He has been magnificent for the team now. Need a little bit more out of some of these infielders. Ryan McMahon, Anthony Volpe, both hitting below 215. The catcher spot has been miserable, and Jazz Chisholm, you never know what you're going to get out of him, but Yasan Dominguez has some upside. He had a home run yesterday, and for the Blue Jays, this has been an offense that has struggled as well. They're in the bottom 9 in terms of run creation, despite the fact that they're a top 5 team in terms of few strikeouts and a per at-bat basis. And you look at some of these guys, Vlad Jr., Jesus Sanchez, Nathan Lukes, Ernie Clement, Hendrik Pinago. All these guys ring above a 275, just no power. Like, Vlad Jr. has 3 home runs this season. Kazuma Okamoto has been solid with the power, 15 home runs. He's only getting about a 231. And then you do have a few guys like Andres Jimenez and company at the bottom lineup that have been a little bit rough. But I mean, for the Yankees, I just think that they've got better pitching here because Will Warren has really been able to put it together, and Will Warren has been at his best away from home this season. For Mr. Warren, overall for the season, he's giving up about 0.9 home runs per 9 innings. His ERA is 3.41, fielding dependent of 3.25, 9.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. That lowers to a 2.78 with 0.3 home runs per 9 innings away from him. And then when it comes to this Blue Jays bullpen, you've got a nice big 3. Taylor Rogers, along with Braden Fisher, Louis Varland. These guys have all been able to give you a sub-250 ERA. Then you get into Uriel Rodriguez, Tommy Nance, guys like that, and it's a roll of the dice. And ironically enough for the Yankees, their main 2 guys, Camilo Duvall along David Benner, these have been guys who have been posting up above a 4 ERA. Tim Hill has not been great, but you've had Brent Hedrick really be able to step up. He, Fernando Cruz, along with Paul Blackburn, have been able to give you a sub-350 ERA, and do think that Will Warren goes out there, gets the job done. I did set the money line of the Yankees at a minus 135, like their money line and like the under. Somebody tell it at 8.3. 913, 914 on the card. It's the Tigres. They are going to be on the road. They're facing off against the Cleveland Guardians. Gavin Williams goes for the Guardians, and Casey Mize is on the bump for Detroit. Detroit is an underdog between plus 102 to a plus 107. Meanwhile, for the Guardians, going to be find them as bad as a minus 122, find them as good as right around about a minus 114, and so on this game is 7.5, under is minus 120. The over is even, and I'm in on the Guardians. I did set my total at a 7.1, so I'm also going to be in on the under Guardians money line. I set at a minus 143 for Gavin Williams. He's really been able to put it together this year. As always, had some pretty nice swing and miss stuff, and now he's up to a 3.32 ERA, 3.81 fielding dependent, which that's a little bit concerning, the 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, but 10.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, and he should benefit from the fact that it's a Detroit Tigers team that really has not been doing the greatest job in terms of being able to bat the ball. Now, you do get back Labor Torres, you get back Gary Carpenter, That's great, but still, it's a Tigers team that's averaging about 3.9 runs per game away from home this season. That is a bottom 6 mark in all baseball. And the Powerball's really been eluding them. Dylan Dingler has been able to give you 15-plus home runs, and Spencer Torkelson is up to 10 home runs, but he's hitting less than a 225, has not really been consistent there for Detroit. They're a bottom 8 team in terms of home runs on a per-at-bat basis when they're away from home, so all sorts of issues on that front. Now, the good news is Torres, who I mentioned before, along with Riley Green, Kevin McGonigal, these are guys who give you a 375 on base, so they've been able to move line, but you do have these guys like Zach Short, Zach McKinstry, Matt Vierling, A.O. Lee, a whole bunch of guys at the bottom line. Juancio Perez hitting a 225 or lower, so it's a very top-heavy lineup. And then for the Guardians, they continue to be a bottom 10 team in terms of run creation. Daniel Sheeman has fallen down the toilet bowl a little bit, though. He did have that pinch home run yesterday. You do have Kyle Manzardo, and I'll give you about a 330 on base, but you just expect more out of Steven Kwan and Jose Ramirez. For Ramirez, 10 home runs with about a 330 on base, and he had a little bit of an injury yesterday. I don't think he's going to be in the lineup today, so had to dock this total a little bit more as a result. That said, you've got Anel Martinez, who's going to give you a double-figure amount of homers. Steven Kwan didn't get 215. That just needs to be better, but you've had Travis Bazzana hit for 345 on base. Brian Rocchio and Austin Hedges are actually hitting this year as well, both hitting above a 265, and the Guardians, they still do have the better bullpen. Sean Armstrong, since coming out the injury list, has been great. Eric Zabrowski is on the injury list. That's an issue, but Hunter Gaddis, Kate Smith, after shaky starts to the season, last 35 days, they've been able to supply a sub-325 ERA, and for the Detroit Tigers, Will Vest, well above a 5 ERA thus far this season. Bert Schmidt is currently on the injury list, so that's a little bit of an issue. Kyle Finnegan is great, sub-2 ERA, but they've been using him up quite a bit. Kenley Jansen, Tyler Holden, they both have been north of a 4 ERA, and Casey Mize, I think, is going to be able to do his part in terms of keeping you under. I really like what I've seen out of him thus far this season. For Mize, he's up a little bit with regards to the swing and miss stuff. 227 ERA, 242 fielding dependent, 9.3 strikeouts, 2.3 walks per 9 innings, so I think they can get a lower scoring game, set by total 7.1, like the under, but for the Guardians, willing to lay up to minus 142 on that money line. 9:15, 9:16 on the card. It's the Astros. They're going to be on the road against the Royals, as Stephen Kulik is on the bump for the Royals, and Spencer Arrighetti, no, not Mom Spaghetti, is on the bump for the Astros, and the Astros do find themselves on a tight line as a little bit of an underdog between minus 102 to a plus 106. Meanwhile, for the Royals, going to be finding them as good as a minus 115, as bad as a minus 120, and total on this game, finding an 8.5. The over is minus 115 to minus 120, under is between even a minus 105, and for the Royals, I set their money line price at a minus 112. When we get more of these dime lines out, I do think that we're going to be able to get a minus 112. That will put me on the Royals on the money line, and with this Kansas City Royals team, it has been one that has been very shaky with their offense, their bottom 5 team in terms of run creation, but I'm starting to become a little bit of a believer in Stephen Kulik. Even though he's not a guy that's going to go out there, get a bunch of whiffs or anything like that, he's just a do-your-job sort of pitcher. 3.14 ERA, he's only getting 6.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 1 home run, 1.9 walks per 9 innings allowed. You look at what he's been able to do recently, and he's given up a combined 7 earned runs over the course of his last 5 starts, so I like what he's doing there. And for Spencer Arrighetti, he has been a very nice bright spot right now for the Astros. You just have to fear that regression is coming. He's now given up a combined 7 earned runs in his last 2 starts. Overall, 221 ERA, but a 409 fielding dependent. 4.9 walks per 9 innings while being supported by a bullpen that is in the bottom 8 in the big leagues. In terms of ERA, that's a very, very dangerous game. Now, Josh Hader is back for this Astros bullpen. That is going to be able to help them out quite a bit. And you have had some of these guys be able to rise up. Brian King has been able to give you a sub-350 ERA. Angel De Los Santos was a little bit shaky early on in the series, but he and AJ Blueball back to respectability. That said, it's still just really hard to trust in these guys. And for the Astros, the lineup is looking much more formidable because now you've got Jose Altuve back, recognizing he's not the guy that we all know and love, but still it's better than a lot of the slop that they've been throwing out there, likes of Zach Cole, Zach DeZenzo, Jake Myers, Christian Vasquez at the catcher spot, Bryce Matthews. You've got a lot of guys that are giving you a sub-235 batting average and not a lot of power. Yordan Alvarez has carried the mail, well over 20 home runs, 430 on base. Christian Walker, 17 plus home runs, he's sitting at 250, and Jeremy Pena, not a lot of power, but 355 on base. Meanwhile, for the Royals, it's all about Bobby Witt Jr., 350 on base, 9 plus home runs. And Vinny Pasquantino, along with Salvador Perez, they need to find a way to move the line. Perez is up to 10 plus home runs, but at 251 on base. Pasquantino, 308 on base, but you expect more than 6 home runs out of him, especially with them moving in the fences at Kauffman Stadium. All of a sudden, Kevin Misner is hitting like a 400. Cameron Misner is looking very solid for this team, so yay, barely there, but you do have some of these guys like an Isaac Collins, Lane Thomas, that are at the bottom lineup, hitting below a 225. Carter Jensen, who's batting leadoff, is giving you less than a 300 earned on base, and Royals, they themselves have been very brutal with the bullpen. Carlos Aceves being out has really hurt this team, and Alex Lang's starting to rise up a little bit, but he still has well north of 3 ERA. Lucas Hurstad is flying about a 5 ERA. Like Daniel Lynch, John Schreiber, sub 350 ERAs out of both of these guys, but that said, I do think that you get the 8.5 to the over because these bullpens are so bad, but with the Royals, we'll be willing to lay up to a minus 112 with the money line to go along with that total to the over. 917, 918 on the card. It's the Angels. They're going to be playing us to the Rays, as we do know that Grayson Rodriguez is going to be on the bump for the Angels. Right now, it's quite a bit of TBD for the Tampa Bay Rays. This game is completely off the board as a result, but it's looking like Ian Seymour should be factoring into this decision, whether that be as a bulk guy, whether that be as like a starter that goes 3 or 4 innings. And as a result, set the Rays at a minus 134. I'm going to be willing to lay up to minus 133 there, plus 135 or better, looking at the Halos, and then set a total of an 8.8, 8.5 or less, in on the over 9 or higher to the under. And I do want Ian Seymour to be specifically a starter, because you look at Ian Seymour, ever since he got to the big league level in the 2025 campaign, he has not been comfortable in the bullpen. He's been pretty comfortable as a starter. You take a look at just the splits that you've got for him when he's been pitching out of the bullpen. He's got a 4.62 ERA out of the bullpen. He's given up only about 1 home run per 9 innings. That does go down to about 0.9 as a starter, but for Seymour, 3.13 ERA as a starter, and he actually gets 10.8 strikeouts per 9 innings when he's a starter, only 9.5 strikeouts per 9 when he's coming out of the bullpen. Meanwhile, for Grayson Rodriguez, when this guy's rocking and rolling, he's really got some upside. He is not rocking and rolling right now. 8.10 ERA, so he's getting rock and rolled right now. 5.04 fielding dependent, so he's quite a bit better than that ERA would indicate, and he's been able to get 8.9 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 5 walks per 9 innings, 1.5 home runs per 9. He missed all of last season due to injury, and you could tell that the command is just not there. And well, when it comes to the Angels, this is not a good bullpen. You've had Jay Silseth to be able to give you a sub 350 ERA along Sam Bachman. That's good, but I mean, it's very clear Drew Pomeranz is not the answer. He's supplying well above a 5 ERA. Ryan Zephyrian, Kirby Yates, these are guys supplying well above a 4 ERA. Brent Suter looks long in the tooth. I mean, it was so bad that they threw out their Alek Manoah at a time, so that's not great. Now, you have a few guys in a small sample size, like in Jose Siri, Wade Meckler, they're hitting above a 300. I don't make too much of that. They're looking to Denzar Guzman, a young guy, to be able to give them a bit of something along Donovan Walton. You've had Logan O'Hoppe being not so happy about the fact that he's got like 3 home runs and is hitting about a 215. Mike Trout continues to be himself over at 385 on base. He's been able to give you 14 plus home runs. And Joe Adell, it's up to 10 home runs, hitting at 240, but less than a 285 on base. Zach Neto is able to move line as well, but for the Angels, they're actually a bottom 6 team in terms of run creation at home. They've been much better away from home, and for the Rays, this continues to be a top 12 offense in terms of run creation. Just have a lot of guys that have been mix and match, have been able to find a way on base. Nick Fortes, along with Hunter Fiducia at the catcher spot, both hitting above a 240. You've been able to get some good production as well out of some of these mix and match guys, like a Ben Williamson, giving you a 333 on base. Richie Palacios over a 340 on base, and then you have a trio of guys in Junior Caminero, Jonathan Aranda, Yandy Diaz. I'll give you 11 plus home runs. I'll give you at least a 360 on base. Now for the Rays, it's a team that's about league average with regards to bullpen ERA. Cole Sulzer has been posting up an ERA above a 4 along Garrett Clevenger, but Kevin Kelly, Brian Baker, these guys have been locked down. They've been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. Cam Boozer looks like he's going to be a nice pickup for this team. So minus 133 or better, looking at the Rays, plus 135 or better, the Angels, and then 8.5 or less, like the over 9 or higher, the under. 919, 920 on the card. The Red Sox are going to be playing us to the Rangers, as Nate Thinavaldi, the former Red Sox, is going to be on the bump for the Rangers, and Connolly Early is on the bump for the Red Sox. Red Sox to find themselves as a very, very slim favorite here. You're going to be getting them between about a minus 105 to a minus 115, minus 102 to minus 108. That number on Texas drawing scheme is 9, over is minus 115, the under is minus 105. Set the Red Sox at a minus 117, so I'm willing to go up to a minus 116 on the money line in a relatively pick'em spot. I'm going to be in on them. For Connolly Early, do recognize that the fielding independent is a bit higher than the ERA, but I like what I've seen out of him thus far this season, despite the fact that he is giving up about 1.5 home runs, 3.5 walks per 9 innings. He is supplying a 3.30 ERA, and he does get to go up against a Rangers lineup that, much like the Red Sox, they have been struggling. Both teams entered in yesterday averaging 4 runs per game. That is 25th in all baseball. Now the Red Sox, they only average 3.5 runs per game at Fenway. I do think that that's going to be going northward. We did see that on Friday when they had the nice outburst, but Both teams have really been struggling there. And for Nathan Eovaldi, it's been a little bit of a rough go of it for him thus far this season. If you look at the full season numbers, he's been posting up an ERA that is hovering right in that neighborhood, about a 4.26 with 1.7 home runs per 9 innings, but 3.39 ERA over his last 11 starts. He had a little bit of shakiness in the first 2 or 3 starts of the season, so he's been able to round into form there. For the Red Sox, I do think that you're going to be able to get a little bit more out of some of these guys, and they've got pieces that are moving the line. The big thing has been the Powerball. They've been a bottom 5 team in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis, but Jarren Duran, 10 home runs since the beginning of the month of May. That should be able to help you out a little bit. And then you have a lot of mix and match guys between about a 335 to a 350 on base. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Ceddanne Rafaela, Masataka Yoshida, Weiler Abreu. They're all there. Mickey Gaspers giving you about a 325 on base. Wilson Contreras is carrying the mail, about a 390 on base. He's been able to give you for the season 14 home runs, but need more out of Marcelo Meyer, Carlos Cervantes, Caleb Durbin in the infield, hitting at 225 or lower. And then for the Rangers, we are starting to see a little bit of regression right now out of Brandon Nimmo. He's starting to have a little bit of a tougher time getting on base. Wyatt Langford, Corey Seager have come off the injury list. Neither has done a ton this year. Jake Berger is your main boom guy with 12 home runs, but only hitting for about a 307 on base. Ezekiel Duran moves the line. He's hitting about a 290. Josh Young hitting a 300, but it's been very mix and match with regards to a lot of these outfielders as well. Both teams have been really good with their bullpens as well. Both teams in the top 5 in terms of bullpen ERA. Garrett Whitlock is sub 350 ERA as a nice long guy. They're getting Justin Slayton off the injury list. Danny Kalum has not been himself, but he was banged up. I think that'll round into form. Aroldis Chapman has been one of the best closers in all baseball. I really like Tyler Semenijo for this Red Sox team, sub 3 ERA out of him as well. And then for the Rangers, they do have Jalen Beeks on the injury list, but Tyler Alexander, the Jacobs, Jacob Junis, Jacob Latz, they've all been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. Kevin Collier has been able to give you some good innings as well. Some think they yearn for a low-scoring game, like the under, some I told 7.8, and with the Red Sox, want to lay up to a minus 116 on that money line. 921, 922 on the card. The Padres are going to be on the road against the Orioles. Trevor Rogers is in the neighborhood for the Orioles, and Walker Buehler goes for the San Diego Padres. Padres do find themselves as underdogs between plus 109 to a plus 116. Meanwhile, between minus 125 to a minus 132 is that number on Baltimore. 9.5 is the total. Over is minus 115. The under is minus 105. I like the under. I saw my total at an 8.6. Walker Buehler, in my opinion, has just pitched much better than what the ERA would indicate. He's down to giving up just 0.6 home runs per 9 innings, 4.33 ERA, but a 3.45 fielding dependent. The swing and miss stuff is back up right around about 8 strikeouts per 9 innings. It's about as good as it has been over the last 3 or 4 years. Meanwhile, for Trevor Rogers, been a no good, very bad, terrible season for him. 6.15 ERA, but 464 fielding dependent with 1.4 home runs, 3 walks per 9 innings. He's been better than what that ERA would indicate. 300 runs or fewer allowed in each of his last 2 starts. I know it doesn't sound like much, but it does feel like he's starting to get in line a little bit more there. Now for the Orioles, the real issue here is the bullpen. Keegan Aiken, Andrew Kittredge. These are a pair of guys who are giving you an ERA well above a 4. They had to use up Albert Suarez, who's a little bit of a long guy yesterday, so that was able to save a few bullets in the chamber. So you're going to have Yunier Cano, Rico Garcia will give you a sub 3 ERA available in this game, but someone like an Anthony Nunez has been posting up an ERA hovering right around about a 5. Grant Wolfram is not the answer for this team. Now, Orioles are a top 8 team in terms of run creation at home, and Gunnar Anderson has been able to launch a deep ball, 14 plus home runs, but he's just still not really moving the line and getting on base. He's only up to about a 290 or so on base. Now, Pete Alonso, 12 plus home runs, 333 on base. He's starting to look like the guy that we all know and love. And you've got other guys that are finding way on. Samuel Basayo, Leody Taveras, both hitting about a 260. Need more out of the likes of Colton Cowser, Tyler O'Neill, Kobe Mayo. These are guys hitting at 225 or lower. And you could throw in there Jackson all day as well. Hasn't been himself since coming off the injury list. But Blaise Alexander, I don't know why they bat him ninth. He's giving you about a 350 on base. And for the San Diego Padres, Fernando Tatis Jr. at the very least has multiple home runs out this season. And he's giving you a 350 on base. He's getting on base, just no power whatsoever. Manny Machado, 12 home runs. He's not getting on base at all with about a 255 on base. And then you got a lot of guys like Gavin Sheets, Xander Bogaerts hitting in the neighborhood about a 230, getting functional power, but you need more. Like Jackson Merrill is hitting like a 200. Freddie Fermin has been hitting below the Bedell line of a 200. They're kicking the tires on Chase Bone, who they called up from the minors. He hasn't necessarily been great, but for the Padres, they've got a much better bullpen. Jason Adam, along with Mason Miller, both giving you a sub 2 ERA. Yuki Matsui had a rough week last week, but he's been able to give you a sub 3 2.93 ERA. Wandy Peralta has been pretty solid as well. So I do think that the Padres go out there, get the job done in a body clock game. Set the Padres at a minus 103. Won't take anything of plus money on the money line, and like the under, semi-total at 8.6. 923, 924 on the card. The Mariners are going to be on the road against the Nationals. Miles Mikolas is on the bump for the Nationals, and Emerson Hancock is on the bump for the Mariners. Do note that Mikolas might have an opener for him, and right now for the Nationals, they're going to be plus money underdogs, anywhere between plus 115 to a plus 125, seeing as good as plus 130 out there as well. Minus 136 to minus 145. That number on Seattle. Total on this game, 9.5 to 10. On the 10, under is minus 115. The over is minus 105. On the 9.5, the over is minus 115. Under is minus 105. Whether you've got a 9.5 or a 10, I do like the under. I set my total at 8.8. Now, Miles Mikolas, again, might not be the true starter in this game, but he's going to pitch in some form or capacity, and things have been rough for him this season. 5.90 ERA, 2.1 home runs per 9 innings allowed, only about 5.6 punch-outs per 9, but he's given up 3 runs or fewer in 10 out of his last 12 appearances, 4.35 ERA with 2.1 walks per 9 innings in that time span, and Emerson Hancock has just been great. 2.74 ERA, 8.7 strikeouts, 2 walks allowed per 9 innings. He's allowed just 6 total runs over the course of his last 5 starts, and he is backed up by a bullpen that's in the top 8 in terms of ERA. Now, they are dealing with an injury to Matt Brash, Cooper Griswold. He's currently out of the fold as well, but likes of Jose Ferrer and Edward Bazardo, they've been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. You've got Gabe Spire really rocking and rolling for the team. He only was used for 5 pitches yesterday, and for the Mariners, it's been about a league average team in terms of run creation. Obviously, having Kyle Raleigh out of the fold has hurt them, but got a lot of guys are in sort of in that neighborhood about a 245 to 262. Colt Young, Luke Raley, Josh Naylor, Julio Rodriguez on that neighborhood, and Rodriguez and Raley, your main 2 guys in terms of power, both have been able to give you 11 plus home runs. Colt Emerson, I think about a 235, but he's already got a pair of home runs in this series. They're getting back Miles Masterboni, so it's looking a little bit better there. And hey, Dom Canzone, 350 on base for the Nationals. They continue to be a top 3 offense in terms of run creation. James Wood giving you good wood, 19 bombs and a 400 on base. CJ Abrams over a 370 on base. He's been able to give you 14 home runs, but don't look now, but Curtis Mead, 340 on base, 9 to 10 home runs out of him. Luis Garcia, Dallin Lyle, these are guys moving the line, hitting about a 260, so they're getting a little bit more support from the other guys. Now for the Nationals, you just don't have a very good bullpen now. They do have a few guys that have been a little bit better recently. Richard Dickey Lovelady has been able to give you an ERA below a 350, but Paxton Schultz has been supplying like 5 ERA. Gus Farland has not been very trustworthy. Orlando Revolta has actually been really good. He and PJ Poulin both have sub 325 ERA. I think that there's going to be a little bit of regression there, and I do think that for this Mariners bunch, they get to Miles Mikolas, and what I think is going to be a little bit of a lower scoring game. I believe in Hancock keeping you under, so I might tell it at 8.8, like the under for the Mariners. Set them at a minus 138, so we'll delay up to minus 137 on the money line. 925, 926 on the card. It's the Cardinals on the road against the Twins. Todd Junkel, Milton Bradley not looking to play games here for the Twins, and Michael McGreevy is on the bump for the Cardinals. Cardinals are right around even money at a minus 105. With the Cardinals, you're going to be finding the Twins as very slight favorites here, anywhere between about minus 106 to a minus 115, and total on this game it is 8.5. Over is minus 120 to a minus 125. Under is between even and plus 105, and I do like that under. I set my total at 8.2. Recognize that Taj Bradley has had some command issues. 4 walks per 9 innings, but he's still getting about 10.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, just a hair above a home run allowed per 9 innings. The fielding dependent matches up with his ERA that's right around about a 4.02, and for Michael McGreevy, he's sort of been the opposite of Taj Bradley, only about 6.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, but how about a 2.99 ERA, 1.2 home runs, 2.1 walks per 9 innings. He's doing a nice job in terms of keeping things out in front of him, and it is a Cardinals team that's been a bottom 10 team in terms of run creation ever since the beginning of the month of May, but that said, they've been much better away from home rather than at home. About 4.15 runs per game at home, closer to about 5 runs per game away from home, and Jordan Walker just continues to be magnificent for this team. 15 plus home runs. He's been able to give you about a 350 on base, and just have a lot of guys in general finding a way on. Ivan Herrera has been able to give you a 400 on base. You've got Alec Burleson, J.J. Weatherholt, Lars Nootbaar, all between about a 350 to a 365 on base. Nathan Church not necessarily drawing a lot of walks or anything like that, but he's hitting about a 250. He's been a little bit banged up. Should be all around into form. Meanwhile, for the Minnesota Twins, you've got Alec Martin, who's been able to give you about a 350 on base. It's a small sample size, but Orlando Arcia, he's been able to give you a bit of something as well. He's hitting about a 270, but like what I'm seeing out of Trevor Larnach, 360 on base. Byron Buxton, no doubt about it, he's supplying the boom. He's up to 22 home runs strikeouts, hitting at 270. He's having an amazing season, and since Royce Lewis was sent down to the minor leagues, he's been much better in his second call-up. He already has a home run in this series. He's looking like a completely different player. Now for the Minnesota Twins, this has been a bullpen that's been absolutely terrible. Cole Sands continues to be on the injured list. Then you have likes of Andrew Morris, Taylor Rogers, Anthony Banda, Travis Adams, Yandres Gomez. Like pretty much everyone in the bullpen has a ERA above a 4. And to the credit of the Cardinals, overall for the season, they're a league average team in terms of bullpen ERA. That bullpen ERA, though, since May 1st, it's actually in the top 10 in all of baseball, right around about a 3.18. You still have guys like Matt Savance and Ryan Stanek who are spying an ERA above a 5. Jojo Romero, Riley O'Brien, more in the neighborhood about a 3.40 to a 3.90. George Soriano has been a nice surprise for this team as well, but I think that both starters are going to be able to do a nice job here, and I think that Taj Bradley is going to be able to round into form. I know that the command has been a little bit wonky for him, but I do think that the swing miss stuff keeps things, shall we say, to the under, and I think that it allows the Twins to be able to get the job done. Set the Twins at a minus 136, like them on the money line, and I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the under, so I told it at 8.2, 927, 928 on the card. It's White Sox, they play us to the Dodgers, as you've got Emmett Sheehan on the bump for the Dodgers, and Eric Fetty Wap is on the bump for the White Sox. The White Sox find themselves as good-sized underdogs, anywhere between plus 150, seeing as high as a plus 175. Meanwhile, minus 175 to a minus 195. That's your number on the Dodgers. If you're looking to lay a run half with the Dodgers, you're going to be finding that anywhere between minus 120 to a minus 125, and totals anywhere between 9.5 to a 10. On the 10, the under is minus 115. The over is minus 105. On the 9.5, over is minus 115. Under is minus 105. Set my total at a 9.6. Personally, I'm looking at a 10 to the under. I'm seeing even a 10.5 out there as well. That was a little bit more of the opening number. A lot of places are going down to just a flat 10, but for Eric Fetty, he actually had really good home and road splits in 2024 when he was pitching for the White Sox before he got dealt at the deadline. And for Fetty, yeah, he's probably going to give up some runs in this spot. 4.69 ERA, he's not pitched that well. 6 fielding dependent. 2 home runs allowed per 9 innings, only about 5.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. But that said, he has been much more comfortable out there in Chicago, so I think that that's going to help him out a little bit. And for Emmett Sheehan, you want to be very, very, shall we say, informed on his home and road splits as well, because for Emmett Sheehan, you look at him overall for the season, 4.70 ERA, 1.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 9.7 strikeouts per 9. The 4.32 fielding dependent does indicate a little bit of positivity, and this is not just this year. This is the career home and road splits for Emmett Sheehan. When Emmett Sheehan is in Dodger Stadium, 2.85 ERA. At home, he's giving up about 1 home run per 9 innings. That goes up to about 1.8 home runs per 9 innings, 5.68 ERA away from him. But with the White Sox, you do have to have a little bit of concern about this offense out of Masataka Murakami. You had Yoshinobu Yamamoto taking a perfect game into the 8th inning yesterday before Mookie Betts had that error, and for the White Sox, they're a little bit of an all-or-nothing team. Colson Montgomery, well, he's been able to give you 15-plus home runs, hitting for just a 218 with a 317 on base. Miguel Vargas, 15-plus home runs, 370 on base, and you're starting to get a little bit more out of some of these guys. Like, you've got Chase Meadroth, give you about a 350 on base. Tristan Peters hit a home run yesterday. He's hitting a 360 on base. Sam Antonassi, about a 380 on base, but Edgar Quiero, Luan Acuna, you've got a few guys that they just really have been lacking, to say the least. And then on the other end for the Dodgers, this is a team that's averaging about 5.9 runs per game away from them. Number 1 in terms of road run creation this season for Shohei Ohtani. He was back in the lineup yesterday, 14 home runs, 425 on base. He had a home run yesterday, so looks like he is just fine. Freddie Freeman, he's only at about like 9 or 10 home runs, but he, Andy Paez, Max Muncy, even throwing there Santiago Espinal, hitting between about a 265 to 280. Paez and Muncy have both been able to give you 14-plus home runs this season. With Muncy, he's actually up to 16. Mookie Betts continues to be miserable for this team, but even someone like a Dalton Rushing, moving line for this team for the LA Dodgers, this has been a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA as well. And with Yamamoto going as deep as he did yesterday, that saves much of your trustworthy bullpen guys. Alex Vesia, Jack Dreyer, Blake Trinan, you do have quite a few guys in this bullpen, give you a sub 390 ERA. Will Klein has been pretty solid along with the Kyle Hurt. And for the White Sox, this does continue to be a bottom 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA. When you got Sir Anthony Dominguez as your closer, that's not necessarily great. He's got a 360 ERA, so he's not bad. And then Sean Newcomb, Brian Hudson, Grant Taylor, these guys have been able to give you sub 4 ERA, but hard to trust in Trevor Richards and company. Do feel like this summer has just gone a little bit out of whack with regards to total, though. I like the under of 10. I set my total 9.6. And for the Dodgers, set my run line party set at minus 126. So one to lay up to minus 125 on the run line. Wrap things up with 929, 930 on the card. It's the Rockies. They're going to be on the road against the Athletics as Tomoyuki Sugano is on the bump. For the Rockies, Jeffrey Springs is on the bump. For the Athletics. And the Athletics do find themselves as a good size favorite here. You're going to be finding them between about minus 170 to minus 180 on the money line, plus 154 to plus 159 is that number on Colorado, and the total is 14. The under is minus 115, the over is minus 105, and if you're looking to lay a run half right now with the Athletics, that's anywhere between plus 102 to a plus 110, and I was willing to go up to a minus 109 on the run line. Now for Jeffrey Springs, it hasn't necessarily been an amazing season for him. I do think that he's going to be able to do a little bit more in this game than Sugano, just because Sugano just pitches to a lot of contact, and it feels like he's been super duper lucky this season, because for Sugano, while he does a nice job in terms of not hurting himself with the walks, he's only giving up about 2.6 walks per 9 innings. He's getting 5.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, 408 ERA, 522 fielding dependent, and somehow, someway has allowed 3 earned runs or fewer in pretty much each out of his last 5 starts. Meanwhile, for Jeffrey Springs, 468 ERA, 520 fielding dependent, the 1.9 home runs per 9 innings are a little bit of an issue, and really ever since he got to the Athletics, he's been a worse pitcher at home rather than away from home. Obviously, those home games are in Sacramento, like this season, 501 ERA in Sacramento. He's been giving up darn near 2 home runs per 9 innings, and that goes down to a 428 when he's away from home, so that's something that you do want to be noting. But that said, you do have a Colorado Rockies team that has been a bottom 8 team in terms of run creation away from home. You've only got one guy that's currently healthy that's giving you 9+ home runs, because Mickey Moniak is dealing with an injury, and that'd be Hunter Goodman. He is a good man, 18 home runs. He's been able to hit for about a 240. The only other guy in the starting lineup yesterday with more than 3 home runs is CJ Romfield. Hitting a 275 with 8 home runs, and you've got a few mix and match guys that have been relatively solid. Jake McCarthy has been one of them, but right now he's dealing with a little bit of an injury. Troy Johnson has been able to hit just below 300 as well. You've got a few call-ups for this team. I like what I've seen thus far out of Cole Carrick, so I think that he's got a little bit of upside, but these guys like Brett Sullivan, Sterling Thompson, Edouard Julien, Ezekiel Tovar, you've got a lot of guys hitting at 230 or lower with no power whatsoever. And then for the Athletics, Shea Langolaris continues to give you a 350 on base. He's up to 18 home runs. Nick Kurtz up to well above a 425 on base. He's starting to get on a tear. 16 home runs for him. Zach Aloff, so it's coming off the injured list, 8 bombs and less than 180 at bats. He's been moving line. Henry Bolte, he's not giving you power, but he's hitting about a 300. Now you're getting off the injured list as well. Jacob Wilson for the Athletics. They're not going to light the world on fire with their bullpen, but they've got some formidable pieces, the likes of Hogan Harris, Luis Medina, even someone like Mason Barnett. These have all been guys that have come in there, held down the fort, been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Don't trust a Mark Leiter Jr. or Elvis Alvarado, but those guys have been fine, and Antonio Sensachel has been great in this Rockies bullpen. He's been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. Brendan Bernardino closer to a 4 ERA, along with Blas Castano. Seth Halverson has been solid, but Juan Mejia, Jane Nill, and a lot of the long guys have just went straight down the toilet bowl. So do you think that the total is a little bit too high? We've actually seen quite a few unders out here in lovely Las Vegas, and I tell 13.6, so 14 plus in on the under, and I'm willing to lay up to a minus 108 on that Athletics run line, and that'll wrap things up for the Sunday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. A big thanks to our guy Chris Cichon over at WBAL in Baltimore for joining me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at @GUnit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, maybe does not matter. So as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is via an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review, and I'm with you guys every single day on this podcast, give you picks and analysis on every game every day. So I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.